Hello, fellow parents and educators. Thank you for joining me at Education Evolution, where we are disrupting the status quo in today's learning models. We talk about present-day education, what's broken, who's fixing it, and how. I'm Dr. Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your host and founder of Education Evolution and the Microschool Coalition, where we are fiercely committed to changing the narrative, to reimagining the education landscape and creating learning that serves all children and prepares them to thrive. Welcome, Education Evolution listeners. Today I have Sonya Harris here with me, and she is opening a microschool this fall. Welcome, Sonya.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It is great having you here. And Sonya is the CEO of the Bullock Garden Project in New Jersey. Yes. And you have pivoted. You've taken your mission of social justice and being nature-based, and you're pivoting and opening a microschool saying, hey, pandemic's not slowing us down. Talk to us about your school that's opening right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we are so excited about this. I was a teacher. I was a special educator, and it's always been a goal of mine to open a school. And I really always wanted to focus on a school for children who had special needs that were just not being addressed in public school, and to really kind of change things and shake the system up and have a place where kids can be kids. So with the pandemic and schools closing and, it's all about keeping the kids safe, I started noticing more and more, not only in my teacher groups, but from my friends who had children who were doing this virtual learning. And they were like, this just isn't working. It's not working. So the closer we got to school opening, and I'm talking, this was like May, the closer we were getting before the school year had even finished, I'm seeing kids on video and they're crying because they're just like, I don't understand it. It's going too fast. And I went, we have to do something about this. I can't do it. Kids are my soft spot. Kids hit me every time. Kids drive everything I do. I just, you get into teaching not for the paycheck. You get into it because you actually have a passion for children.
Yes.
And there's nothing like, I always say it's a little selfish because there's nothing like seeing that aha moment happen in a child. And I was like, I love that moment. I thrive on that moment.
Yes.
Yes, but like to know that there are children who are not getting that, it just kind of hit me. And I was sitting with my team one day and like, yes, we're a nonprofit. We are helping to help schools and organizations build learning gardens. We were shifting and growing food and helping get seeds out to people because we know that people need it to eat. And the pandemic was causing just so much chaos in the lives of so many people. And people were losing their jobs, and we were like, okay, but you can grow food. It's not going to happen overnight, but we can start teaching you. So we're offering free webinars and sending seeds to people and doing all of this and gleaning and donating to food pantries, and then decided to start a school. Let's take this even further. Let's just say, okay, the pandemic has happened. How can we help? We're already working to feed people. So now I went, okay, it's time to look at the children. We have to help feed their minds, feed their bodies, feed their souls, feed their spirits. We have to give them in-person education. We know that virtual learning does not work for everyone. We especially know that it is not the ideal way for young children to learn. How many times do we sit and say, kids need limited screen time. Kids have to have limited screen time. But we expect little ones to sit in front of a computer screen all day. That's not right. It's not right.
Absolutely.
And I understand that this is what has to happen because we have to keep children safe. We have to keep teachers safe. I have so many of my former colleagues, my friends, who are terrified about going back into the classroom with, 25. The last year that I taught, we had 30 kids in a classroom and could barely walk around the room. So, I understand that. However, this is the perfect time to start something and to start a model that we can show that we can give kids a learning opportunity safely, a lot of outdoor time. We're nature based and we are all about social justice. It is about getting those colorfully mismatched children together and going, okay, let's take this time and smash the mold and smash what that traditional public school time looks like. And that's
So
what we're going to do.
I love it. And when you reached out to me early
Oh,
this
yeah.
summer, I was really, really struggling with Black Lives Matters in right
Mm-hmm.
here in Seattle. And so many things were like confusing and how do we
Right.
do things better and different? And your passion and what you had done with your nonprofit, it was like, oh my gosh, I so believe in what you're doing. And that's when
Oh,
lots of people were reaching out and saying, I want micro school information. And I was doing free
right.
little 1 hour sessions. And I decided, okay, it's time for me to offer a full class. And it was so cool to say, guys, I want you to do this. And the tuition that
Yeah.
you pay for this class is going straight to Sonya to help
Oh
her.
my gosh.
So you inspired
Yes.
me, and then you inspired the people in our class because they're like, oh wow, I am paying to get this
Yeah.
information, and it's going right to help a micro school open up and to help
Yes.
kids that are in an area that it's a rainbow of kids and rainbow of colors of
Yes.
kids needs in your area. So
Exactly.
you are, it's such a pleasure to get to team with you. And
Oh, this has been so amazing. And I have to make sure everyone knows, like, I read Maureen's book. I'm an avid reader. I'm the kind of person who will read. I'm a book nerd. I will read like 4 or 5 books at one time. Everyone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I just literally go from, okay, I'm going to read a chapter here, a chapter here, a chapter here. And I was just looking, I need to keep my education wits about me. Being retired and being out of it for a year, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm losing contact. I'm losing sense of what it is to be an educator. And I was just looking for education books and the micro school book popped up. And it was on my Kindle and I bought it. I read this book in a day. And I know I messaged I messaged you because I was just like, this book spoke volumes to me. This book reached into my very essence. And I went, this is it. This is what we need. And especially now, yes, I am a Black woman. And I have always, my entire career, 25 years, I've always been one of two or one of three brown teachers.
wow,
For many kids, I was the only brown teacher that they ever had. And, it's something when you do that and to know that, to know that you're in this, you're living this life, this double life. And the one thing I mean, Black Lives Matter, it's something because I said, it's something that I've lived my entire life.
yeah,
The way things have to happen. I taught my son's 28, but I remember having these talks with him about, you have to do this, you have to do that. And you can't do what your friends are doing. You always have to behave this way. And I think about the restraint that put on him. And I think about what it does with other children. And I think about, the times when I was teaching and we would have like kids will ask you everything. And I taught first, second, third, and fourth grades in my career. I've worked with adult kids. I've worked with kids who were in a private facility. who were violent offenders. And working with the younger ones, they will give you their opinion whether or not you want it. But like, because I've been told many a thing, many a day. Like even like, why are you wearing that? You shouldn't wear that again. And I'm like, okay, I won't. But when it comes to the issue of race, kids will ask. I remember one back to school night where a mother, no, it was a grandmother, saw that I was her granddaughter's teacher. I was one of her teachers. It was me and my partner teacher, Missy. And Missy is white. I'm black. I stand up as one of the teachers. This woman was enraged. And the next day, the little girl came to school crying. This is a second grader saying, my grandma said I'm not allowed to be friends with any of the brown people in the class, and I'm not allowed to be your friend.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. And we instantly, our class got into a conversation about race and got into a conversation about differences and why it makes us special and why it makes us unique and appreciating each other's culture. Now, this is back, oh God, 2007, 2008. So this group of kids has already graduated from high school and are in college. But just then, having that conversation meant so much. And I remember at the end of the school year, the mother, not the grandmother, but the mother came to me and she was like, my child had such an amazing year this year. And I can't thank you enough for really giving her what she needed. And she even helped open our eyes. So that's what we
Yes.
want to do at this school. We want to make sure that the children is not, tolerance is one thing. We don't tolerate. We accept.
No, no. Right.
We
Tolerate is so
appreciate.
limited.
Yeah,
Yes.
we accept, we appreciate, we understand. And not only when it comes to race, but when it comes to gender identity, when it comes to,
Yes.
the entire
Learning
spectrum, when it
differences.
comes to, yes, learning differences. A story that I have is when my son was young, I worked for a family. I did home care for a family who have a child. Well, he was a child then, he's an adult now, who's non-ambulatory, cerebral palsy, wheelchair, nonverbal. And that was one of my son's best friends. Jarrett was like 2, 3 years old. And
Ah,
I was able to take him to work with me. And I remember he had I think his 5th birthday party was at Chuck E. Cheese. And he insisted on this child coming. And I think at the time, this boy was maybe 17. And his mom and dad
oh,
came to the party and they have him in his wheelchair and he was the hit of the party. And, some of the parents were like, oh no, because the kids were asking questions and they wanted to touch his wheelchair. And the mom was like, no, no, they need to learn. It's okay. And they have questions and they're children and they shouldn't be afraid or, let them be curious. And I mean, so much so that we had this store called Bradley's that was here in the late 90s, early 2000s.
uh-huh.
My son, we were in Bradley's one day. My son, I turn around to like, where is he? And I see his little hands pushing some girl in a wheelchair. What? We had no idea who
Oh,
this was, but
oh,
he was like, I know how to work a wheelchair. My friend Jeffrey has a wheelchair. And
oh,
boom, I was like, oh, I'm apologizing to this mother. And this woman is cracking up. She's like, no, it's okay. And he's like, my friend has a wheelchair and I get to push him. And I had to explain,
oh.
you don't just go push everybody in a wheelchair. But he was having a great time. But that just goes to show when you raise children and teach them love and acceptance and that differences is what makes you unique and special and wonderful. And you can approach people without fear, without reservation, without anything. And you just know that people are people and we are one world and we need to love each other. And it starts at those children. It starts with the youth. I, I believe that this is going to really make a change for this generation. I
I
love this young generation, but
I
I
agree. We
believe it's
need
going to be
them.
even better. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and it's got to be about love, which is like such a forbidden word in
Oh,
schools.
right.
Sonia, your vision, your mission, pivoting and opening their place, their
Yes.
place is just amazing. I want to acknowledge what hard work it is, even though you already have a nonprofit and it's a pivot, you're not starting from scratch. I
Right.
know starting a micro school, starting any business is challenging and that you just have to keep taking
Yes.
steps forward in faith. Tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about how just knowing and believing and trusting how that's played out in terms of finding a facility, because that's a
Right.
huge part of a school.
Huge, huge part of a school. It definitely is. Whew, it's another job. And,
Mm.
to run a nonprofit and then go, "Well, I'm going to open a school." And it's like, oh, okay. I took that on. And there's a lot of days where I go, what were you thinking? There's a lot of just little moments several times throughout the day where I go, what were you thinking?
Yep.
But from where we came up with this and we were like, okay, we're going to do it. And we thought we had found a place to host us. They had all of the COVID precautions in place. They had classrooms that they had built, but they also had like a sports school that was also in their space that they were renting to. And I think when it came down to it, the sports school felt that maybe that we were a competition. They didn't want us in the space. So at the last minute, this fell through when it was yes, yes, yes. And we had these meetings and it was yes, yes, yes. And when it was time to sign the paperwork, where it was, well, we really aren't sure about this. And we were devastated. We were devastated, angry.
Yes. Yep.
And it was like, I had to say to my team, it's okay. We're doing good work. The universe will provide. So, at that time, we had quite a few parents. We had about 10 kids that were, yes, on board. And then the schools announced, okay, we're reopening with this hybrid. So we were getting more people were coming to us like, I'm not really sure about this hybrid. We want to come to you. Great. That's wonderful. And then the school said, we're going to go all virtual through December. And kids pulled out. Parents were pulling out like, oh, we're going to try the virtual. You want to talk about heartbreaking, not having a space, having kids pull out. And I
Yes.
just kept saying to my team, it's okay. It's okay. I don't have any worries. It's okay. And we're like, we need 20 kids so we can have this one trailblazer, because we're not using the word teachers, we're using trailblazers. One of our trailblazers is currently teaching, and she can't be there and trailblaze with us unless we have 10 to 20 kids full tuition. And I kept saying, it's all right, the kids are going to come. Well, where are we going to be? I'm not worried about it, it's going to come. So we have a parent who, her child is signed up, and she said, hey, I have a rec room, I have a large dining room table, I have a large backyard, I have a creek behind my house, come to
Oh,
my house.
yes.
You can garden, you can do this. And I went, the universe provides. So my team was
Yes.
like, you always say that. And I said, because it's the truth. When you are doing good work and work from your heart, the universe provides. And I keep telling people, I don't pull a salary. I'm not pulling a salary for doing this. I'm not getting paid for any of this. But you know what I'm doing? I'm putting good out into the world, because there are so many times that I can tell you where people have been so wonderful to me. And if you don't put that back into the world, what is happening? We have to keep this positive energy just flowing. And I truly believe, even though we're in a house right now, we're going to be starting out in someone's house. I know that a facility is coming where we can take more kids, because being in a house, we definitely have limits. We have all of our COVID precautions in place. We, have everything that's going to be wonderful to start with, especially right now. The weather's great. We're going to start outside. We know that that's the safest way for for
Right.
people to gather. And we're going to start that way. But if we have to be inside, we have the thermometer checks. We have a system in place where we need people to take their temperature. It gets a video scan. So we're like, yep, you have to video yourself taking your temperature. You show the temp to the camera. It comes directly to me, and I see whether or not you pass or fail for that day. And I'm like, okay, if you have a temp, not a problem. We're also going to be online, so you can virtually stream all day long and have a virtual buddy.
Wonderful.
So it's not
Yes.
like you're just sitting there like, no, we're going to have a tablet and you'll have a buddy that carries you around, virtually through the day. You
Yes.
can talk, you can do all of these things. And, the goodness that came from when you, donated all of that to us. That you're amazing uh, people. Everyone who's in the Micro School Coalition donated that workshop money to us. It's going to purchasing supplies. Because when I retired, I was like, I'm done with this. Gave everything away, and now I'm like, I'm trying to buy
Oh,
these same things back. Like we need
yes.
flexible seating, we need this, we need that, we need hands-on things. So like I said, when my team goes, okay, we're a little worried. I'm like, don't worry, don't worry. The universe will provide. And I keep saying, the universe will provide. I believe the universe connected us. This is
I
why we have the
agree.
name Their Place of our school. It's because sometimes, and we say this even with COVID and with the pandemic and the closures, we're like, sometimes out of darkness, there's light. And the reason we have the name of our school is out of darkness, but it brought light. It brought us together. The universe works in incredible ways, not just mysterious ways, incredible ways.
You're making me
So,
tear up
ah,
because the name ties into something that was heartbreak
yeah,
for me. And together, you and I felt that pain and
yes,
are creating something beautiful out of a tragedy.
right,
And
right.
every time that you say the universe provides, it is our connection. I just want to acknowledge it provides because you're taking those baby steps forward in faith. We're going to have this. We're going to have this.
We
I'm going
have
to
to,
call the
right.
20th person on the list to see what they can do for a facility. You're
That's
working
right.
so hard that of course it's coming back to you. And you're also not afraid to pay things forward and you're not competing.
Oh, you
Sadly,
have,
that sports school was competing
right,
and we're all in it for the kids, and competition,
right,
it's fear-based and the opposite of love. And you're not playing that game. You're playing big.
right. And that's what we said. I was like, it's okay. If something falls through, it wasn't meant for us. And I look at it like it's protecting us from something. So let
Yes.
me, I can tell you this quick story. And Maureen,
Yeah.
this, a couple weeks ago, actually, August 5th, we had a bad storm, that Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I go outside. I'm getting ready to go to the office. I'm surveying the damage in my garden. I was a little heartbroken because I'm like, oh my gosh, this was
Aw.
ready and this was ready. And I go to get in my car and there's no car. My car was stolen
Aw.
out of my driveway. And it's something that devastated me. I knew I was retiring as a teacher. I was just like, you know, when I knew I was retiring, I bought that car right out because I was like, I can't have a payment. I'm going to be going without
Yep.
money for a
Yep.
while. I can't run through my savings. I'm too young to collect any of my pension. So, I have to make sure I have pretty much as little bills as possible. And to know that that car was taken, I was devastated, absolutely devastated, destroyed, stayed in bed for that day and cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about the universe. Now, I have had wonderful friends. I put up a GoFundMe and I was just like, I not so much worried about the car because I was like, yes, I need a car. I need to get around because I had a school in Trenton that I had that car full of garden supplies to go to this charter school in Trenton, but they were trying to feed families and they had a
Yes.
very small space to do a garden. So I was like, okay, I have these raised beds from Smart Pots. We can take them there. We can fill them with soil. Gone. And then, of course, being devastated over my car. And I had a friend come out and say, hey, don't worry about it. I have a car you can have. I mean, she's incredible that, to do this. And we're ugly crying, FaceTiming. We're doing the ugly cry. And I'm like, no, you can't do this. You should do this. And she's like, no, you've been there for us and you would do the same for me. And I was like, you're so right. Cause we're like sisters. So, that's one example. And another, people are donating money. People are donating tools. People are donating different things for this school to replace what was taken. That's the universe providing. But also,
yes.
this last Sunday, I got an email. Now, I had a Toyota Prius. And, my little Prius, I loved my little Prius C. I loved her, brand new Prius. And I got this email. And when the police came, they had told me, they said Toyota or Honda. And I went Toyota. And they went, yeah, it's a kind of a hot car right now. And I live in farmland. So I was like, first of all, who would take a Prius and who would take my car? Like, who does that?
Yes.
And apparently there's something on Prius or in Toyotas that people take. It's heartbreaking and sad. And karma, that's all I'm going to say. However, I got this email from Toyota that there was a recall on the 2018 and 2019 Prius Cs. There was something with the engine. And I mean, I'm going to send you a picture of this email. And the what could happen is that the engine would just seize and it could cause death. It could cause you to crash.
Whoa.
I looked at this email several times and I was just like, wait a minute. I kept reading over it and I sent it to my mom and I said, look at this. And she goes, wow. She said, you weren't meant to be in that car.
Oh my God.
And that's how I looked at that. Cause I'd been saying, I was like, the engine is just running weird. Like what? And I had an oil change and I was like, maybe we should take it back to Toyota and have them do something. Here it is. Yeah. A month after my car was stolen, I get this email that says
is crazy.
It was being recalled. So there was this peace that came over me at that point, and I went, "Yeah, I wasn't meant to be in that car because I was riding around my niece, so her toddler chair was also in the car, and I was like mad. I was like, it was brand new. We had it a week, and it was stolen, and I'm like, I could have had her in the car with me, and we both could not be here, would not be here right now.
Wow.
So when we talk about the universe,
you gotta trust.
Yep.
Sonya, I want to ask you. Yes. Yeah. That blind faith is so important. One final question. I like to wrap up my podcast asking my guests, if you had a magic wand for education, what would you bestow upon education? Our learners, our precious learners.
There's so many things.
Okay. Pick your top one.
For the learners, I would love, if I had a magic wand, I would love for school to no longer be following this production business model. At some point, people forgot we were dealing with children. We're not pushing out a product.
Yes.
We're working with children. And I don't care if you are 8 or 18, we're dealing with children.
Yes.
And the world got so wrapped up in assessments that don't matter. They don't matter.
Right.
I would love to wave my wand and have schools really be what micro schools are. I would love for every school, every district to throw away this, production line model and stop trying to cookie cutter kids and just embrace who they are, embrace those differences, and then build education off of that. Let the children lead education and be a trailblazer for where they can go. Stop locking them into boxes. Let them out. Let them be free. That's what I would do with my magic wand. I would
Wow.
break the system. I would smash that
Yes.
system.
And my dear, that is what you are doing. And it is such an honor to get to be walking
Oh,
on your journey with you, Sonya.
thank
So
you.
thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for being such a critical part of this journey. I thank you.
It is my honor. And thank you for sharing today so that our audience can see that this is doable. It's hard work and it's so worth it. And you're an inspiration, Sonya.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. You're an inspiration to me. This is why it all started.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Can you see why Sonya was the inspiration for where my class tuition could be donated? What a force for good she is. I love that her longtime desire to open a new kind of school for kids melded with all of this micro school and pandemic pod conversation this summer, and that we were able to connect. When she talked about her little white second grader being told by her grandma that she couldn't be friends with her black teacher, I was moved. And then Sonya, like all excellent teachers, found that teachable moment. Sonya responded with love, the opposite of fear. She connected with kids that race, gender, learning differences need to be celebrated as what makes us special. Yes, that's a message our world needs to really embrace. Her quote, "We are one world and we need to love each other." What more important lesson is there for each and every one of us? And this is the golden rule, which is the major premise of so many world religions. This is not new, but I think we keep needing to relearn it. And so I welcomed her reminding us of this important message. We know that it takes a leap of faith for any important undertaking, bringing a baby into the world or opening a school to deeply serve each child. Sonya's faith and determination to continue to move forward are what we all need to achieve the great works we are capable of. When Sonya mentioned that she's not being paid as she creates their place, I'm reminded of the myth busting I did in episode 21, talking about realistic expectations. Sonya is pragmatic and aspirational. What a great combination. Don't you love that each of her remote learners gets a virtual buddy? She's taking the concern of social isolation and addressing it creatively. I feel like I need to explain the dark place that Sonya refers to that led Sonya to name her school Their Place. When Sonya reached out to me, I was reeling in pain at the killing of Summer Taylor in a peaceful Seattle Black Lives Matters march. Summer was my daughter's best friend, and their death was devastating and personal. I was aching and needed to do something big and love-filled to counter this horror. So within a week, when I hear from Sonya, it was the perfect connection. Getting to mentor Sonya and share all of my lead prep files and resources has been healing for me. And to know that the there in Their Place honors Summer and their pronouns of they, them fills my heart. As Sonya says, this is definitely a light coming out of a place of darkness. Sonya concluded with her magic wand of smashing the production line education system and embracing differences and letting kids lead their learning. This speaks volumes of her experience, vision, and aspirations. I'll be sure to check back in with Sonya to give you all updates. Thank you for listening today. If you're finding yourself thinking, I need to do this in my school, Let's talk about it. Earlier this year, I got to present models for diverse learners for the South American Inclusion School of 2020 conference. There are many ways to enhance the holistic support of our learners. Let's create an action plan together. Visit educationevolution.org/consult to book a call, and let's get started. Education Evolution listeners, you are the ones to ensure we create classrooms where each student is seen, heard, valued, and thriving. We need you. Let's go out and reach every student today. Leaving a rating and review for this podcast lets others know that you find it of value and gets it in the earbuds of more educational leaders like you. Thank you for listening. Signing off, I am Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your partner in boldly reimagining education.